The Australian Ballet Company returns after its second world tour. At their Sydney headquarters, wardrobe master Mel Clifford and Rill Cannell fit prima ballerina Marilyn Jones in her costume for the company's next production, Frederick Ashton's La Fille Malgadée. Robert Helpman, the artistic director, here on a whirlwind visit, welcomes the company. Mr. Helpman, what's your assessment of the second international tour by the Australian Ballet Company?
Well, I think it was probably one of the most important tours. Before the tour was, of course, naturally very successful at Covent Garden. And then on the continent, you know, so many people in Australia imagined it was because Margaret Fontaine and Nureyev were with the company, which was absolutely untrue. But this time was the first time that they'd absolutely held their own in an international field. And both their success in Expo and all through South America was absolutely extraordinary because the people in South America have no idea even where Australia is. And the fact that it could produce a company of such sophistication, both in dancing and decors and music, absolutely amazed them. They were absolutely staggered, and they had the most enormous success. In fact, the last night in Mexico, at the end of the performance, I came on to I had prepared a very halting Spanish speech of thanks, but before I could start, the orchestra stood up and played the Mexican farewell song, which is a great tribute to the company. They've only done it 4 times in the last 15 years, out of respect for a company that they admire.
What part do you play in your next film?
Well, actually, it's rather amusing because it's by the author of the James Bond films, Ian Fleming. But he also wrote a children's book called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's about a magical motor car. And he actually wrote 8 stories, and they've made this fantastic musical out of it with the score by the same people who wrote the score for Mary Poppins. And my part, in one of the adventures these children have, they go to a mythical kingdom which has a very unpleasant old duchess, and she hates children, and she employs a child catcher. And that's my part. And I have to disguise myself as ice cream sellers and chocolate sellers and everything to try and catch them. Of course, I never do. They always win. It's a fantasy and very, very amusing, I think. I hope so, anyway.
First of 5 100-foot patrol boats destined for service with the Royal Australian Navy's Papua New Guinea Division is ready for launching at Maryborough on the Queensland coast. Mrs. Maloat Palio, wife of the Manus Island representative in the Papua New Guinea House of Assembly, is to perform the launching ceremony, which is held at night due to the lateness of the high tide in the Mary River. It's a proud moment for the shipbuilders who've already produced 2 minesweepers and a frigate.
I named the ship Hideaway. May God bless her hand, all who sail in hand.
Word perfect in English, Mrs. Palio neither speaks nor reads the language. HMAS Itapi, latest addition to the Royal Australian Navy. Come fly with us to the romantic islands of Tonga for the coronation of King Taufa Ahua Tupo'u IV. Nuku'alofa, capital of Tonga, is the mecca of thousands of Pacific Islanders and visitors from all parts of the world. For a week, they converge by sea and air upon the capital of a necklace of about 150 islands clustered along the international dateline 2,000 miles northeast of Sydney. It's the first coronation in this Polynesian kingdom for 50 years. The Australian government is represented by Senator Gorton, who travelled aboard HMAS Anzac. A Tongan Guard of Honour greets New Zealand's Prime Minister, Mr. Holyoake, before the arrival of the Duke and Duchess of Kent, representing Queen Elizabeth. And then to the impressive and solemn coronation ceremony. Slowly, the 6-foot, 4-inch, 21-stone monarch, followed by his queen, moves along the matted path. procession passes into an old wooden chapel where the double crowning is performed by the Royal Chaplain, Reverend George Harris, assisted by the President General of the Methodist Church of Australia, the Reverend Cecil Gribble. The century-old crown was made in Australia, as was the throne, carved from a coca tree under which the king's ancestors had been installed from the time of William the Conqueror. The glittering event coincides with the King's 49th birthday, and Tongans of all ages joyfully display their loyalty to the law and arts graduate of Sydney University, who, since the death of his mother, the beloved Queen Saloti, 18 months ago, has pledged himself to the development of his Pacific Kingdom. From the Royal Palace, the King and Queen escort the Duke and Duchess of Kent to the coronation feast in the grounds of the Royal Palace. They're joined by America's representatives, Governor Burns of Hawaii and Governor Lee of Samoa. The coronation feast is a tradition dating back 10 centuries. Three Tongans prepare the traditional kava drink, as gifts, mostly of food, are offered to the royal couple by representatives from every island. But it's not until the gifts of kava root, hundreds of roast pigs and chickens, fish, yams, and enormous watermelons have been made that the kava circle is formed. Then, by taking the first bowl, Tonga's new king seals his oath of office. Natives swing into ceremonial dances to mark this unique occasion of the coronation of their South Sea Island king.
Point Cook, 14 miles southwest of Melbourne, the birthplace in 1913 of the Australian Flying Corps, today the home of the RAAF Basic Flying Training School. It's by far the busiest flying base in the Air Force, but there's many an hour logged in the lecture rooms and the workshops by students from all of the armed services. Some of the hardest workers are the maintenance men who service the 40 Wingzhou aircraft. Students and instructors work in closest cooperation to maintain top equipment servicing. This trainer is simulating flying conditions as the RAAF instructor talks to his pupil, an Army pilot. Each day there are more than 30 Wingzhous on the line. The training centre is proud of its record and of its vital statistics. 2,120 hours is the top for 1 month's flying time in 12,500 aircraft movements. The current rate is now 100,000 aircraft movements a year, and by the end of this year, it is forecast that at least 20,000 flying hours will have been logged, and each of the 35 flying instructors will have added 600 hours to his personal total. From Point Cook, the Air Force and Navy students go on to Pearce in West Australia and train on jet aircraft at the Applied Flying Training School to qualify for their wings. But they all make their first rolls high above that 730-acre paddock acquired by Defence Minister Senator Pearce 54 years ago for the establishment of a military aviation school, the first of its kind outside England, the foundation unit of the Australian Flying Corps.
This conflict is a nightmare.
At the University of Sydney, the 10th anniversary summer science school, attended by 150 Australian and New Zealand high school pupils, and this year, for the first time, 10 of America's most brilliant high school students, known as Lyndon B. Johnson Australian Science Scholars. Lectures are conducted by 6 of the world's most prominent scientists and recorded for televising throughout the nation. By now, a well-known personality in Australia, Professor Julius Sumner Miller of El Camino College, California, whose lectures and demonstrations are designed to provoke the observers to inquire and learn for themselves. Professor Harry Messel, head of the School of Physics and founder-director of the Nuclear Research Foundation, under whose auspices the Summer Science School operates. Professor Miller conducts the well-known Cartesian diver demonstration. With its success during the last 10 years, expansion plans for the Summer Science School are already under consideration, and in the future it's hoped to invite students from Britain, Japan, and other interested countries. Moves are also underway overseas to organize similar schools, proposals which certainly enthuse Professor Miller.
Think of Kingaroy, think of peanuts. It's not peanuts either. It's worth $8 million a year with a record crop this year of 40,000 tons. The silos are expected to be full, and the Minister for Tourism, Mr. Herbert, gets a welcome from the General Manager of the Peanuts Marketing Board when he pays a visit. The silos can handle up to 12 tons of nuts in the shell every hour. After arriving from the silos, the peanuts go onto a machine for cleaning before they're sorted to be sent to wholesalers. Women sort and pack the crop. Conveyors take the peanuts from one process to another. The peanuts are put in bags, big bags, and skilled operators sew them up, ready to be sent off to the sellers. It's big business here at Kingaroy for tourism, as well as for export to all parts of Australia. Yes, a town where peanuts mean trade as well as tourism, Kingaroy. In Sydney, the American Consul General, Mr. Capella, sees a photographic exhibition bound for the United States. The photos are from the book The Australians, already translated into 13 languages. The original photographs, many in colour, show various aspects of Australian life, including the beaches and the outback. The originals are only 35mm shots, hardly big enough for a travelling exhibition. So they're enlarged to a bigger negative, and then they really get the treatment, blown up to a size of 60 by 50 inches. The Commonwealth Government contributed $10,000 towards preparation of the exhibition. The enlargements are glued to a backing substance and then framed in wood and aluminium. The Australians are ready for their exhibition trip around the world. It's Brisbane showtime, and it's a golden show with record attendance and record takings. It's one of the sunniest openings ever, and it puts the big crowd in a real holiday mood.
While it's goose pimple time down south, it's summertime up north on the Barrier Reef, where sunshine and warm tropical breezes greet the holiday makers, and barbecues help while away the lazy hours. And where there's golf, there must be birdies. Greenkeeper Ted Simpson looks after his flock on the Arch MacArthur course at South Mole. For the bird watchers, South Mole has many attractions. Yes, sir. What concentration! North Queensland Open champion Ray Howarth opens up with a big drive, and the ladies follow suit. It's a par 3. So, hooray for Ray, the new South Mole amateur champion. And this inspiring character is our Wally. Ah, how to improve your golf. No wonder it's a bestseller. Well?
With a bonanza of perfect weather, Sydney goes outdoors for Easter, and the Royal Show is the venue for record attendances. According to general opinion, it's one of the biggest and best ever staged, and a look at the Grand Parade obviously confirms it. Even with the effects of a long and devastating drought still to be felt, the quality of all exhibits and stock is exceptional. An optimistic note for the state's rural future. The Royal, a multi-million-dollar showcase, the biggest show of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. Officially opened by the Governor-General, Lord Casey, the ceremony is marked by the release of 10,000 homing pigeons. For ladies, it's the traditional time of the year to air that Easter bonnet, so we look at some of the latest creations, like this three-tone, finely pleated jersey turban. In keeping with autumn outings, try this balloon crown cap for size. It features a finely striped lurex trim. From fashion to flowers, these are decoration for the official dais where Lord Casey announces the winner of the district exhibit. The honour going to Central New South Wales. Certainly a land of plenty. At nearby Royal Randwick, over 54,000 spectators on Doncaster Day, the first leg of the AJC Autumn Double, in which Storm Queen is 3-1 favourite. Rounding the home turn, Nebo Road on the inside leads Time and Tide, followed by Cabochon. Tobermory is on the outside with Tobin Bronze in dark jacket and white spots, 2 out from the rails, about to begin his challenge. At the furlong, Cabochon is clear of Nebo Road, but Tobin Bronze in the centre of the track is finishing fast. Although Cabochon has a 2-stone weight advantage, Tobin Bronze gradually makes up leeway to win by half a head in the last stride, with Redcap third. A highlight of the autumn season, the yearling sales. We went to the stables a bit early and found Francis and Carol making friends. They looked at prospective champions, we looked at hats. A fur-filled Garbo hat with saddle stitching, which seems just right for this setting, and a cap and scarf of French jersey with snood buttoned at the throat. Again, with the surroundings in mind, a classical coachman style with velvet treatment. From hats to horses, and this one reminds us that they're going out for the Sydney Cup. Australia's champion stayer Galilee with John Miller up heads the parade, followed by last year's winner Prince Grant, George Moore, and striking force Kevin Langby. An odds-on favourite, Galilee is second last until the 7 furlongs, where he moves around the field, sweeping to the lead from Prince Grant on straightening up. Winner of last season's Caulfield Melbourne Cup double, South Australian Galilee is shown in slow motion over the concluding furlong as he gallops into history as the only horse to win Australia's 3 major cups in one season. A $9,844 New Zealand yearling purchase, Galilee takes his stake earnings to over $160,000 as he defeats Prince Grant by 6 lengths with striking force third. The trophy is presented by AJC Chairman Brian Crowley to owners Mr. and Mrs. Max Bailey. Galilee is well on the way to smashing Tulloch's Australasian prize money record. Rivaling the cheers for Galilee's success, the pleasant pandemonium of Sideshow Alley. And don't our 2 girls get around. Francis has changed into an imported Vivahood beret cloche featuring a sweeping line. Not to be outdone, Carol now sports a broken line pillbox of 2-tone French caribou. A Persian lamb pillbox with lurex tip and snood. From hat seeing to log sawing, and this seesaw is the double-handed contest where you can really see the sawers at their best. The chaps on number 2 are the ones to watch, Johnson and Chalker, leaving no doubt about their victory feelings. One of the top events, if you'll pardon the pun, is the World Tree Felling Championship. Last year's reserve champion Ron Sheriff from Tasmania is chopping the chips high, wide and handsome. No doubt about this year's world title. In the time of 2 minutes 25 seconds, it's Ron Sheriff from fellow Tasmanian Mervyn Yu. Nice going, Ron. And come to think of it, we'd better get going too. For Sydney, another Easter is over. And it certainly went off.
On June 29th, 1933, Primo Carnera, a 6'6", 19-stone North Italian, knocked out Jack Sharkey in 6 rounds at New York to win the World Heavyweight Boxing Championship. A kangaroo was part of the ballyhoo in promoting this one-time carnival freak as the Ambling Alp or Gentle Giant. Within a year, Max Baer relieved him of his title, but Carnera fought his way around the world for another 11 years before turning to wrestling. At White City in Sydney, he grunted and groaned his way through a fiasco with another giant, King Kong, while a hostile audience hissed and booed. Carnera was a pitiful, lumbering shadow of the agile athlete who had won 66 of his 100 fights by knockout and another 18 on points. A Man Mountain who had earned more than $2 million with his fists for the benefit of his fast-talking promoters, Carnera this year at the age of 60 was stricken by cancer. Gaunt and shriveled, he returned to the little cottage in which he was born in the mountain township of Sequoias, where on June 29th last, the 34th anniversary of his World Championship victory, Primo Carnera fought his last fight.
If it's speed you're after, then head for Amaroo Park and the National Open Meeting. 18 events for almost every type of car. It's an action-packed program with only 10 minutes between events. The drivers aren't the only ones that are flat out. The boys in the pits are kept busy too. Motor racing is becoming more and more popular in Australia. It's a sport that combines skill with speed. And there's danger too. Reg Pratley lies on the track after being thrown from his Nota V. But the races go on for sports cars, touring cars, racing cars. Speed and more speed round the tricky, twisting track. Motor racing, a sport that's really booming.